They relied on creativity, courage, empathy, and determination. They are different from anything else, Lyra said one evening as they reviewed the records. And that difference is why they cannot join the war. They are not a weapon that can be controlled. They are a force of nature, and if they were unleashed in the war, no one could know what would happen. Zoran looked thoughtful. It is not just about humans being alive. It is about the choices they make. They can create allies from enemies, survive impossible conditions, and turn failure into success. That is power no army can match. Lyra nodded. The galaxy has kept humans out of the war because it is safer this way. Humans themselves might not even realize their power yet. They grow, they learn, and they survive. And in the end, that unpredictability protects the galaxy from chaos. The students spent nights in the archives compiling their findings. They wrote reports, created simulations, and shared stories. Every day brought new revelations. Humans were not ordinary, and their absence from the war was not weakness. It was wisdom. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Lyra and Zoran sat quietly in the glowing hall. The sky turned red and gold, reflecting off the crystal towers. They thought about humans on their home planet struggling, surviving, and growing despite danger. They are extraordinary, Lyra said softly. Not because they are strong or fast, but because they are human. They face danger, make choices, help each other, and survive. And they do it in ways no one can predict. Zoran nodded. And that is why they are not part of the war. Not because they cannot fight, but because the galaxy cannot control them. Their strength is in their unpredictability, their courage, their creativity, and their ability to survive against all odds. As night fell, the students realized they had uncovered the truth. Humans were not absent from the Galactic War because of weakness or fear. They were absent because their unpredictability, creativity, and courage made them too powerful to be controlled. Humans were alive in a way no alien species could understand, and that life itself was their greatest weapon. Lyra and Zoran looked at each other, feeling a mix of awe and respect. They knew their project had changed them. They no longer saw humans as ordinary. They were extraordinary, unpredictable, and a force the galaxy could not contain. And in that moment, the alien students understood the real reason humans could not join the Galactic War. It was not fear, not weakness, and not lack of skill. It was something far greater. Humans were alive, fully alive, and their unpredictability made them a force beyond control. The revelation left them silent for a long time. The twin suns had disappeared below the horizon, leaving the plains of Haltheria bathed in soft blue light. The students felt a new respect for humans, realizing that they were studying not just a species but a force of nature, a mystery that even the most advanced aliens could not fully understand. The galaxy might never see humans as soldiers in its war. But Lyra and Zoran knew that humans' power lay in something far greater than any battlefield. Something that no weapon, army, or fleet could ever measure. Their courage, their creativity, and their will to survive. The journey of understanding humans was far from over, but for the first time the alien students saw the truth. Humans were not just survivors, they were extraordinary, unpredictable, and unstoppable in ways the galaxy could never control. The next morning, Lyra and Zoran returned to the main hall of the academy, carrying their datapads filled with stories, simulations, and reports. The twin suns of Zaltheria shone brightly through the crystal walls, casting reflections on the floor. The other students were already gathered, whispering among themselves. The excitement in the air was palpable. Today, Lyra and Zoran were to present their findings to the senior instructors and the council elders. As they walked to the front of the hall, Lyra felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. This was their chance to explain the truth about humans. She glanced at Zoran, who gave her a small nod. Together, they began their presentation. Humans are not ordinary, Lyra said, her voice steady. They survive in conditions that would destroy other species. They are creative, brave, and unpredictable. They do not follow patterns or plans like most civilizations. Their choices are guided by courage, morality, and adaptability. Zoran activated his floating device, showing simulations of humans in dangerous situations. Alien ships surrounded them, storms raged, and hostile species attacked. In every simulation, humans survived using clever strategies that no one expected. They avoided traps, turned weaknesses into strengths, and even made allies out of enemies. As you can see, Zoran continued, humans do not rely on technology alone. Their strength is in their mind, their heart, and their ability to act under pressure. They improvise, adapt, and survive where other species would fail. An elder named Reth, tall and covered in shimmering scales, raised a question. But surely a species without control, without large fleets, cannot impact a galactic war. Why study them as if they were a threat? Lyra looked directly at Reth. It is because they are unpredictable. No one can plan for humans. If they join the war, no one can control what will happen. They could change the outcome in ways that no fleet, strategy, or weapon can anticipate. Their power lies in their unpredictability. Another elder, Scylla, tilted her head. So, you suggest humans are not weak, but dangerous in a way we cannot measure? Zoran nodded. Yes, they are strong, but not like other species. Their strength is in creativity, empathy, courage, and intelligence. These qualities make them unpredictable. They can survive impossible situations, turn failure into success, and inspire loyalty in others. The hall was silent. Even the skeptical students listened quietly, captivated by the evidence. Lyra and Zoran continued, showing examples from human history. Humans had survived wars, plagues, natural disasters, and even invasions by more advanced species. Each time they adapted, learned, and grew stronger. Humans do not fight like soldiers, Lyra said. They fight with their minds and hearts. They act unpredictably, make choices based on courage and morality, and find solutions no one expects. That is why the galaxy keeps them out of the war. Their presence could alter everything in ways we cannot control. One student, Vikor, finally spoke. So humans are not weak, not fragile, but different. Their power is hidden and it cannot be predicted? Zoran smiled. Exactly. Humans are extraordinary because they are alive in a way no other species is. Their unpredictability is their strength. The galaxy does not allow them to fight in the war because it is safer for everyone, including humans themselves. Reth the Elder looked thoughtful. We assumed humans were primitive, weak, and unimportant. Your study shows that we were wrong. Humans are unique. Lyra nodded. More than unique. They are unpredictable, brave, and capable of surviving anything. They cannot be controlled, and that is why they are not part of the war. It is not punishment or fear. It is protection. Their power is hidden in ways that cannot be measured, but it is real and extraordinary. As the council discussed their findings, the students realized that humans had changed the way they thought about the galaxy. The true reason humans cannot join the galactic war. As learned by alien students, the spaceship landed softly on the wide blue plains of Zaltheria. The air shimmered with light from the twin suns above, and the grass-like plants swayed even though there was no wind. The alien students stepped out of the ship, their eyes wide with curiosity. This was their first time on a planet so full of strange colors and life. Lyra, a young alien with silver skin and soft glowing eyes, looked around in amazement. She felt as if the planet itself was alive, watching them. Beside her, Zoran, who had a small mechanical device always floating near his shoulder, adjusted it nervously. He had read about Zaltheria in books, but seeing it in real life was different. This place is amazing, Lyra whispered almost to herself. The colors, the light, everything feels different from home. Zoran nodded. It is. And to think, we are here to study humans. I still do not understand why they are not part of the galactic war. Lyra turned to him, her expression serious. That is exactly why I wanted to come here. Everyone talks about humans as if they are fragile and weak, but no one really knows why they are so unique. The students were part of an interstellar academy that taught knowledge from hundreds of planets. This academy trained young aliens to become leaders, scientists, and explorers. Every year, new students arrived from distant star systems to learn about the galaxy and its many species. This year, the topic that interested everyone most was the humans. Humans were famous. Every species knew their name.
Every history book mentioned them, but strangely, humans were never part of the great galactic war that was consuming so many star systems.
The students could not understand this. They walked across the plains to the academy, a tall building made of shining crystal-like material. They felt a deep respect for humans, realizing that these beings, who seemed ordinary to many, were extraordinary in ways no alien could measure. "Do you think humans know how powerful they are?" Lyra asked. Zoran shook his head. "They survive, create, and explore without realizing the impact of their choices. That is what makes them human. Their power comes from being fully alive, not from knowing it." Lyra smiled. "And maybe that is why the galaxy allows them to be. Humans are protected by their unpredictability and by their ability to survive against all odds. The galaxy cannot control them, and that is why they remain outside the war." Zoran leaned back, looking at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "One day, humans might choose to fight, or they might not. But whatever they do, no one can control the outcome. That is their true strength." The students spent the night talking about humans, sharing stories and imagining the lives of beings so different yet so extraordinary. They realized that humans' absence from the galactic war was not a weakness, a punishment, or a fear. It was a careful balance. Humans were too alive, too unpredictable, too capable to be unleashed without changing the galaxy in ways no one could foresee. Over the next weeks, Lyra and Zoran continued their study. They shared stories with other students, created new simulations, and explored human history and behavior in depth. Every new story confirmed the same truth. Humans were extraordinary because they were unpredictable, creative, brave, and empathetic. These qualities made them stronger than any weapon, fleet, or army. One afternoon, Lyra and Zoran met in the central library of the academy. Zoran was reviewing simulations of humans on hostile planets, while Lyra was reading historical accounts of human courage during disasters. "Humans change everything they touch," Lyra said. "They survive, adapt, and grow stronger. Their power is hidden, but it is real, and it cannot be controlled." Zoran nodded. "That is why they are not part of the war. The galaxy protects itself and the humans by keeping them out. No other species has this kind of strength." As the twin suns set again over the plains, Lyra and Zoran looked at each other, feeling a sense of awe. Humans were not just a species, they were a force of nature. Their unpredictability, creativity, courage, and empathy made them extraordinary. They realized that humans' absence from the galactic war was not a limitation. It was proof of their hidden power. Humans were alive in a way that no alien species could fully understand, and that life itself was their greatest strength. The students knew their study of humans would continue for years. Every story, every simulation, every discovery revealed more about the extraordinary nature of humans. And every day they felt a growing respect for beings who, though small and seemingly ordinary, were capable of surviving and thriving in ways no one else could. In the quiet of the night, Lyra and Zoran stood on the hill overlooking Zaltheria. The stars twinkled above, and the plains glowed softly under the light of the twin moons. They thought about the humans, their courage, their creativity, and their ability to survive anything. "Humans are extraordinary," Lyra said softly. "And the galaxy is safer for them remaining outside the war. Their unpredictability is their power, and it protects everyone," Zoran smiled. "We have learned the truth. Humans are not weak. They are not ordinary. They are alive in a way that no one can measure. and that is why they cannot join the Galactic War. As the night deepened, the students walked back to the academy, their minds filled with stories of humans, their courage, and their creativity. They understood the real reason humans remained outside the Galactic War. Humans were unpredictable, alive, and extraordinary. Their power could not be measured, controlled, or contained, and that made them the most remarkable species in the galaxy. And with that understanding, Lyra and Zoran felt a quiet awe and deep respect for humans. They realized that humans' greatest strength was not in their weapons, fleets, or technology, but in their minds, hearts, and choices. Humans were alive in a way that no alien species could fully understand, and that life itself was the true reason they could never join the Galactic War. The plains of Zaltheria lay calm under the twin moons, but in the minds of the students, the storm of curiosity, respect, and awe for humans raged on. They had uncovered the truth, and it would stay with them forever. Humans were extraordinary, unpredictable, and alive in ways the galaxy could not measure. The walls reflected the light of the suns, making the building glow like a giant jewel.
Inside, the halls were filled with other students, all talking excitedly about their projects and studies.
Lyra and Zoran joined a small group gathered in a circular classroom with walls that could change color to show different planets and events. "Welcome, students!" said a tall alien named Scylla, who was one of their instructors. Her skin was pale green, and her eyes seemed to see everything at once. "This year, your project is to understand humans. You will study their history, their culture, their behavior, and most importantly, why they have never joined the Galactic War." Some students looked excited. Others looked confused. One young alien whispered to another, "I do not even know why humans are so important. They are primitive. They do not even have space travel like ours for long." Lyra frowned. She could not believe anyone would say humans were primitive. There was something about humans that no book or story could explain. She had read the old archives of the galaxy, and she felt humans were different in a way the students could not see yet. The students were given access to a large data library. It contained information from thousands of worlds. They started by reading about early human history. The stories amazed them. Humans had survived floods, plagues, and wars that destroyed entire cities. They had faced terrible disasters on their own planet and somehow continued to grow, rebuild, and improve. Zoran tapped his floating device displaying maps of human planets and their historical records. "Look at this," he said. "Humans survived plagues that wiped out half of their population. Other species would have collapsed, but they kept going. They built new cities, invented new technology, and even helped each other survive. How do they do this? It is not just survival. They learn from failure. Other species give up when things are impossible, but humans adapt. They find solutions in ways no one predicts." Their group spent hours reading, discussing, and debating. Lyra noticed patterns that the others missed. Humans were not the fastest, strongest, or most technologically advanced. Yet somehow, they succeeded where stronger species failed. The more Lyra read, the more she felt a strange respect for humans. She wanted to see them, to understand how they could be so clever in the face of danger. Zoran was fascinated too. He began creating simulations of human decision-making. He noticed that humans often used emotions like courage, fear, or hope to guide their choices. It was unpredictable. "No program, no calculation could fully explain it. They make mistakes," Zoran said one evening, "but their mistakes often turn into something better than what they planned. It is like they turn chaos into opportunity." Lyra smiled. "That is why no alien army can predict them. No one can plan for humans. They are too alive." As days passed, the students began to meet each other more often. They shared what they learned about humans, but no one could answer the big question. Why do humans not join the Galactic War? Some thought humans were too weak. Some believed they were afraid. But Lyra and Zoran were not convinced. They sensed something deeper. Humans were not absent because of fear. They were absent because they had something other species did not understand yet. One night, Lyra and Zoran stayed late in the library. The hall was empty, except for the soft hum of energy that kept the building alive. Lyra pulled out an ancient human record. It was old, worn, and written long before humans had left their home planet. The story was simple. A village faced a great flood, and the people had no tools, no shelter, and almost no food. Yet they saved each other, helped strangers, and rebuilt their village stronger than before. "Look at this," Lyra said. "They could have given up. No one would have blamed them." But they did not. They worked together even when things seemed impossible. Zoran frowned. "Other species would never do that." "They fight each other first, then rebuild if anyone survives. Humans think differently. They trust each other. They fight together." The next day, the students visited the simulation room. Here, they could create models of planets, species, and wars. Zoran started to build a human scenario, placing humans in the middle of a galaxy-wide battle.
The other students laughed at first.
"They will lose," one said. "They cannot even control space travel for long distances." But when Zoran ran the simulation, the humans survived. Not only did they survive, but they outsmarted their enemies, turning small chances into victories. The aliens could not believe their eyes. Lyra looked at the simulation, her eyes wide. "This is it. This is what makes them different. It is not technology. It is something inside them. Their will, their ability to think in ways no one expects. That is why they are not in the war yet. If they were, no one could control what would happen." As the sun set over the crystal towers of the academy, the students gathered outside. The sky turned pink and orange, and the twin suns reflected off the plains. Lyra and Zoran sat quietly, thinking. Humans were mysterious, unpredictable, and in some ways stronger than any alien race in the galaxy. The other students still saw humans as weak, fragile, and unimportant, but Lyra and Zoran had seen the truth. Humans were special. They did not know it yet, but their project was only beginning. The deeper they studied humans, the more they would realize that these seemingly ordinary beings had a power no alien could measure. It was not strength, speed, or weapons. It was something more subtle, more profound. The power to change the world in ways that no one could predict. And in that moment, Lyra felt a strange excitement. For the first time, she understood why the humans had not joined the Galactic War. It was not because they could not fight. It was because they were too unpredictable, too alive, too powerful, in ways that even the most advanced aliens could not imagine. Zoran tapped his floating device. "I want to know everything about them. Every story, every decision, every victory and failure. Maybe then we will understand what makes them human." Lyra nodded, her silver eyes glowing softly in the twilight. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy is safer for them staying out of the war. For now. The windless plains of Zaltheria seemed calm that night, but inside the minds of the students, a storm of curiosity and wonder had begun. They would spend weeks, months, maybe even years uncovering the secrets of humans. But one thing was certain. They would never see humans the same way again. The next morning, the students gathered again in the crystal halls of the academy. Lyra and Zoran arrived early, carrying stacks of data pads filled with information about humans. Today, they planned to study human history in more detail. The other students joined slowly, some curious, some skeptical. "We will start with the earliest humans," Lyra said, setting her data pad on the glowing table. Their home planet was called Earth. It was small, filled with water and forests. But it was also dangerous. There were storms, earthquakes, diseases, and rival groups fighting each other. "So they survived by chance?" asked one student, a tall alien named Viker with long black tendrils waving in the air. Lyra shook her head. "No, not by chance. They survived because they worked together. Even when they had nothing, they shared food, protected each other, and learned from mistakes. They changed their environment instead of giving up. Other species often fail in these conditions, but humans adapted." Zoran displayed an early map of human settlements on the table. The images showed small villages scattered across continents. "Look here!" he said, pointing to one area where a volcano erupted and destroyed most of the land. Other species would have abandoned this land completely. Humans rebuilt. They learned from the disaster and created tools to predict future eruptions. Another student, a quiet alien named Rena, frowned. But they are slow. Even with technology, they cannot travel far in space or fight advanced enemies. Why should we respect them? Lyra smiled softly. It is not speed or power that matters. It is what they do with what they have. They are creative, clever, and brave. They see possibilities where others see danger. The students spent the day reading stories from human history. They learned about the first cities built thousands of years ago and the great human inventions that followed. They learned about humans crossing oceans in small boats, discovering new lands, and creating trade and alliances. Each story surprised the students. Humans were not just surviving. They were growing, exploring, and helping each other at the same time. As the sun moved across the twin skies of Haltheria, Lyra and Zoran focused on one particular period of human history: the wars. Humans fought each other, sometimes with terrible consequences. Entire cities were destroyed, millions of people died, but even in the darkest times, humans learned to work together and rebuild. Look at this, Lyra said, showing a record of a human war hundreds of years ago. They lost battles, lost leaders, and their cities were destroyed. Yet, after the war, they created stronger governments, better technology, and more trust between groups. They learned from defeat. Zoran tapped his floating device. That is different from other species. Most would collapse completely after such loss. Humans turn failure into a new strategy. Their mistakes make them stronger. Rena looked confused. But why do they not fight in the Galactic War? If they are so clever, they could win easily. Lyra shook her head. This is what we do not know yet.
Humans are unpredictable. If they join, no one can control what will happen.
They might win, or they might change everything in a way that could be dangerous for the galaxy. The students decided to study human creativity next. They learned about arts, music, writing, and inventions. Humans invented tools for work, machines for travel, and medicines to heal. They created ideas that changed the way they lived and thought. Zoran ran simulations to understand their strategies. Every time he thought he had predicted what humans would do, they acted differently. It was impossible to predict them completely. This is strange, he said. They do not follow patterns like other species. Their emotions, their choices, even their mistakes all make them unpredictable. It is like chaos, but controlled chaos. Lyra nodded. And this is why they survive. In war, in nature, in disaster, no one can plan for humans. They improvise, they adapt, and they find solutions that no one expects. Over the next few days, the students explored human social behavior. They studied how humans communicate, how they make friends and enemies, and how they form groups to achieve goals. They found that humans were capable of deep loyalty and courage. They could fight for strangers, help the weak, and even sacrifice for the good of others. These behaviors were rare among other species. Humans seem to have a kind of moral strength, Lyra said one evening as they rested in the glowing hall. They care about more than just survival. They care about each other, about justice, about fairness. This makes them stronger than most species, even those with better technology. Zoran agreed.
Their emotional intelligence is a weapon in itself.
It is impossible to predict how they will act. An enemy might think they can control a human, but humans will surprise them. They make allies from enemies, and they survive where others fail. As they continued their studies, they discovered more examples from human history. Humans had traveled to space, landed on other planets, and faced life-threatening challenges. Yet even with advanced technology, they often relied on their creativity and courage rather than machines. Zoran ran a simulation of humans exploring a dangerous alien planet. The humans in the simulation faced earthquakes, storms, and hostile creatures. Yet they survived using clever thinking, teamwork, and quick adaptation. They should not be underestimated, Zoran said.
Even small groups of humans can overcome enormous challenges. They are unpredictable in a way no machine or alien army can control.
Lyra smiled. This is why the galaxy fears them, even without them fighting.
Humans are not weapons in the normal sense. Their strength is in their mind, their heart, and their ability to act when all hope seems lost.
The students were amazed. They had expected humans to be weak, slow, and fragile. Instead, they found resilience, courage, and intelligence beyond what their textbooks suggested. Lyra and Zoran began to realize that humans were special in a way that could not be measured by power or speed alone. One afternoon, Lyra found a story that made her pause. It was about a small human village facing a deadly virus. The village had almost no medicine or tools. Most other species in the galaxy would have given up or fled. But humans worked together. They cared for the sick, found natural remedies, and shared everything they had. In the end, almost everyone survived. The village grew stronger and smarter because of the crisis. See this? Lyra asked the group. Humans do not just survive. They grow stronger from challenges. They learn from danger, from failure, and from loss. No other species can do this in the same way. The students were silent. They realized that humans were not ordinary. Even though they were young in galactic terms, they had qualities that made them unpredictable and powerful. They were not machines, and they were not like the controlled societies of other species. Humans were alive, fully alive, in a way that no one could anticipate. Zoran leaned back in his chair. Violet. Maybe this is why humans are not part of the Galactic War. It is not fear.
It is not weakness. It is because they are too unpredictable. If they joined, they could change everything in ways no one can plan for.
Lyra nodded.
And maybe that is why the galaxy allows them to be.
Humans have power that cannot be controlled, and it is safer for everyone if they grow and develop on their own. The students spent weeks studying human history, behavior, and strategy. Each day brought new surprises. Humans who had faced disaster, war, or danger always found a way to survive, adapt, and sometimes even thrive. Lyra and Zoran were fascinated. They began to see patterns that other students could not see.
Humans were not weak. They were strong in ways that no alien could measure.
One night, Lyra looked out over the plains of Zaltheria. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows over the crystal towers of the academy. She felt a sense of wonder and excitement. Humans were not just a story in the datapads. They were real, and their power was hidden in ways that few could understand. We need to keep learning about them, she said softly.
There is more to humans than we know. Their history, their choices, their courage. It is all connected.
One day we might understand why they are the way they are. And maybe then we will understand why they cannot join the Galactic War. Zoran nodded. And when we do, it will change everything we know about the galaxy.
Humans are not like any other species. They are different.
And different can be more powerful than anyone imagines.
As the night fell over Zaltheria, the students returned to their rooms, their minds buzzing with ideas.
The study of humans was no longer a simple academic project. It had become a journey of discovery, curiosity, and awe. They were beginning to understand that humans, though seemingly ordinary, were extraordinary in ways the galaxy had never seen before. The next day would bring more stories, more discoveries, and deeper understanding. But for now, Lyra and Zoran sat together in the quiet hall, thinking about the humans who could survive anything, adapt to anything, and change the course of history with nothing but courage, creativity, and their will to survive. They did not yet know all the answers, but one thing was clear. Humans were unlike any species they had studied, and their secrets were only beginning to unfold. The following week, Lyra and Zoran returned to the academy with a new sense of purpose. The more they studied humans, the more they realized that humans were unpredictable in ways that could not be explained by technology or strategy alone. Today they wanted to dig deeper into why humans were not part of the Galactic War. They began by visiting the Council archives, a huge hall filled with holographic records from all over the galaxy. Ancient leaders' battle reports and treaties from thousands of species floated in glowing displays. The students had permission to access records of humans interacting with alien civilizations. Lyra's eyes widened as she read the first report. Humans had met alien species hundreds of years ago, often without weapons or advanced ships, yet they had survived and formed alliances that no one expected. "Look at this," Lyra said, pointing at a record of a human expedition to a hostile planet.
The humans had no advanced weapons. Their ship was small. They were outnumbered and outgunned. But they survived, negotiated with the locals, and left stronger than when they arrived.
Zoran studied the data closely. It is not luck, it is strategy. But not like our kind of strategy. Humans use creativity, emotion, and instinct all at once. No simulation can predict what they will do next.
Another student, Viker scoffed. But this is not fighting a real galactic war. Humans are not soldiers. They cannot control fleets or armies. They are tiny compared to other species.
Lyra shook her head. Size does not matter. Humans think in ways no one expects.
That unpredictability is dangerous. If they joined the war, no one could control what would happen.
They could win or fail in ways that could change the galaxy. The students spent days reviewing more reports. One story described humans on a dying planet facing starvation and disease. The humans had almost nothing, yet they built machines from scraps, grew food in impossible conditions, and healed their sick with natural remedies. The alien students were amazed. Other species would have collapsed, but humans did not.
They are survivors, Zoran said quietly. But more than that, they are innovators.
They turned danger into opportunity. It is not just intelligence, it is a combination of will, courage, and creativity, Lyra agreed.
And it is not predictable. No enemy can calculate what a human will do. No machine, no weapon, no fleet can anticipate their choices fully. They are chaotic in a way that makes them strong.
As they continued their research, Lyra and Zoran discovered something more profound.
Humans did not just survive because they were clever. They survived because they cared. They helped each other, protected the weak, and even risked their own lives to save strangers.
Their empathy, courage, and loyalty were not weaknesses. They were strengths that no alien weapon could match. This explains why they do not join the war, Lyra said one evening.
It is not fear. It is because humans cannot be controlled.
If they fought, the war would not be predictable. Humans would act on courage, morality, and creativity, not orders or strategy.
That makes them dangerous in a way the galaxy cannot measure. It is like giving a wild storm a weapon. No one can predict where it will strike or what it will destroy. Humans are the same. They are wild, alive, and impossible to control. The galaxy keeps them out of the war for their own safety and for ours.
The students decided to test their theory. They created a simulation of humans joining a large galactic battle. Fleets of alien ships surrounded the humans, expecting them to surrender or be defeated. But the humans in the simulation used tactics no one had predicted. They avoided traps, turned weaknesses into strengths, and even created alliances with enemies who were supposed to be their opponents. By the end of the simulation, the humans had changed the course of the battle entirely. The alien students were stunned.
Look at this,
Lyra said, her voice full of wonder.
They did not win because of technology or power.
They won because they thought differently. They acted with courage, morality, and creativity. That is their weapon. That is why the galaxy fears them, even if they are not soldiers. Zoran tapped his floating device.
And that is why humans are not part of the war. It is not because they cannot fight. It is because no one can control them. They are too unpredictable, too alive, too powerful in ways that no one can measure.
The students shared their findings with the Academy. Some students were skeptical, but others were fascinated. The more stories they read, the more they realized that humans were not ordinary. They had survived wars, plagues, natural disasters, and invasions that destroyed entire species.
Each time, humans adapted, learned, and grew stronger. Lyra and Zoran began to study human psychology next.
They learned that humans made decisions based on a mix of emotion, reason, instinct, and morality. They could act selflessly, take risks, and make choices that no algorithm could predict. Their choices often surprised allies and enemies alike. Humans are not predictable, Lyra said one night as they watched the twin suns set over Zhaltheria.
They cannot be planned for, controlled, or measured. That is their true power.
Their unpredictability is what keeps them safe and keeps the galaxy in balance. Zoran nodded. Other species follow orders, plans, and patterns.
Humans follow their instincts, their morals, and their courage. That is why they survive where others fail. It is also why they cannot join the war. They would change everything, and no one could control it. The students began to see a new truth. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were powerful in ways the galaxy had never understood. Their strength was in their mind, their heart, and their will to survive. No weapon, no fleet, and no army could fully predict them. Humans were alive in a way that made them unpredictable, and that unpredictability was a force the galaxy could not contain. Over the next days, Lyra and Zoran continued to gather stories. Humans crossing deserts, climbing mountains, surviving storms at sea, healing disease, and solving impossible problems. Each story reinforced their belief that humans were extraordinary. They did not fight like other species. They did not rely on machines alone.
Humans were not just another species. They were a force of nature, alive in a way that no technology or army could fully understand. After the meeting, Lyra and Zoran returned to the plains of Zhaltheria, walking under the twin suns. The light reflected off the grass-like plants, making the world shimmer with color. They talked quietly about what they had learned.
I never thought humans could be this powerful, Lyra said. Not because of weapons, not because of fleets, but because of themselves.
Their mind, their heart, their choices, all of it together makes them extraordinary. Zoran nodded. And the galaxy does not understand it yet.
That is why they are not part of the war. Humans are unpredictable, and that unpredictability is what keeps them alive and keeps the galaxy safe.
They spent the evening reviewing more stories of humans, from ancient villages to space explorations. Humans had crossed deserts, survived storms at sea, and built cities in impossible conditions. They had faced deadly viruses, natural disasters, and enemy attacks, yet they survived every time. Each story revealed courage, creativity, and adaptability beyond anything the students had imagined.
Humans do not just survive, Lyra said softly. They grow stronger through challenges.
They learn, adapt, and create. Their power is not in weapons or fleets. It is in who they are.
That is why they cannot join the Galactic War, Zoran added. And that is why we must study them. We must understand their choices, their courage, and their creativity. One day, humans might change the galaxy in ways we cannot predict. Knowing them now prepares us for the future. As the twin suns set, Lyra and Zoran sat on a hill overlooking the plains. The crystal towers of the academy reflected the light, glowing softly in the evening.